Good afternoon, and thank you for joining us this afternoon. My name is Charlie Moore with the McLean County Chamber of Commerce, and really appreciate you taking time to join us today for an update from Connect Transit. We're here today with Ryan Whitehouse and Mark Peterson from Connect Transit, and to talk about their new electric buses downtown, their GM search, all kinds of updated information about what's happening with Connect Transit and important information for you to know. Before we dive into today's topic, I would like to recognize our February Town Hall sponsor, State Farm. By sponsoring our educational programs, the Chamber is able to provide our member eds and town halls to our membership completely free of charge. All member ed and town hall presentations can be found on our social media platforms, but also on our member ed resource library at mcleancochamber.org. The password for the resource library is on the Chamber's closed Facebook group, Chamber Chat, or emailed directly at chamber@mcleancochamber.org, and we'll send that right over to you. But for now, let's get to today's topic. I'd like to welcome Ryan Whitehouse. Ryan, thanks for joining us and talk to us all about what's happening with Connect.
Well, yeah, thanks, Charlie, and thanks to your membership to the business community. We at Connect Transit, again, Ryan Whitehouse, chairman, and I have Mark Peterson, our interim GM. Most of you probably know him as the former city manager of the town of Normal, but he's been with us for a while. And yes, he is in his car. He is on the West Coast, so out in Arizona. So I know he has some service issues. So that's why he's through his car right now. He's not driving and on a Zoom at the same time. So we don't have to worry about that. We practice safety at Connect Transit. So Charlie, thanks again for having me. So what I want to do is I want to share my screen here and see if I can do this here. Did that share? I think this PowerPoint's on there, correct?
You are set to go, except for you're muted.
Okay. Now
you're good.
Great. Chairman of the transit system, not an IT guy. So this thing is still giving me fits here. Hopefully we can figure this out here. So a little bit about history. I'm not going to go over all this, but Connect Transit, we used to be known as the Bloomington Normal Public Transit System. The system consists of 13 fixed routes, plus Illinois State University Redbird Express, and 2 additional express routes that operated on the busiest portions of the line in the red. In '72, the city of Bloomington and Town Normal, by the intergovernmental agreement, established an agency known as the Bloomington Normal Public Transit System after the privately owned National City Bus Company. We are an intergovernmental agreement between the city of Bloomington and the town of Normal. In 2015, as you might remember, we rebranded ourselves to Connect Transit because we connect people and reinvented and redid the fixed route system as well. We did a major study and looked at the new routes. I think it's important for people to understand where our money comes from and how we wisely spend the taxpayers' dollars. In fiscal year 2021, our operating budget is $14.5 million. Our budget operating revenue is 65% of it comes from the Illinois Department of Transportation, or about $9.4 million. Very proud to say this. Transit is one of the things that the state of Illinois usually pays, and they might be back a little bit, but we've never not got paid from the state of Illinois. So they're pretty reliable with their funds from the state of Illinois. So about 65% comes from the state of Illinois. Another 14% or $2.1 million comes from the federal government or Federal Transit Administration. 12% comes from our operating revenue, which is our fares and our advertising. Our fares equate to about $80,000 to $85,000 a month. We come in, so that is about $1.7 million. And then the local match from the city and the town accounts up to about 9% of our operating budget. So about 1.4 total. Bloomington, $840,000 a year, Normal $540,000 a year. Why are those numbers different? Bloomington has a larger use of the system, larger routes, more buses, more bus stops. So we balance it that way. Bloomington uses the system more, so they pay a little bit more. Something to know here that I'm really proud as chairman, and Charlie, I think your membership will be really proud of this. We are not a taxing authority. We do not collect money from the tax line. That's why the money from the local match comes in. It is my intent as chairman to not become a taxing authority. And so that's kind of where our operating budget comes from. So let's get to the really exciting things that I'm, as chairman, have the pleasure to announce, but it's really not my work. It's the work of our staff and our board of trustees and the members of the public that got it. In 2020, we received a lot of grants from the state of Illinois and from the federal government to help us accomplish our goals. So in 2020, in the first part of the year, we received $9.92 million from the Rebuild Illinois Capital Program via the Department of Transportation. Remember, the gas tax went into effect, and we got money. We will use that money, portions of that money, to improve the service in downtown Bloomington to the downtown transfer station, which we're going to talk about more specifically. We will purchase 4 35-foot electric buses with that, and we will improve our bus stops to about 90 stops of our bus stops will be improved with this money, and I'll talk about the Better Bus Stop campaign as well. We received later in the year an $8 million grant from the Bus and Bus Facilities Grants via the Federal Transit Administration, which means from Washington, D.C. That money is designated to use on the transfer station in Bloomington, Illinois. I have to say thank you to Senator Durbin, Senator Duckworth, Congressman LaHood, and Congressman Davis for being champions to get us that money. That's a huge amount of money. That is money that's coming from Washington back to the taxpayers of Bloomington Normal to help us complete our downtown transfer station. Also, there are some myths out there. One of the questions we get is, why can't we just take that $8 million and reapportion that to something else in the community that's needed? Well, if you're not aware of this, when you receive a grant from a federal government agency, that is earmarked to a project. And so we can either use that $8 million on a downtown transfer station, or it goes back to the federal government. Other grants we received $600,000 for a solar infrastructure project, and that's underway on our current facility on Wiley Drive. That solar array will be installed ahead of our bus delivery. The solar will offset facility energy cost, which means the energy we collect from those solar arrays will power our center on Wiley Drive. And we will actually sell energy back to the grid, which will help us with our finances, right? So in total, in 2020, Connect Transit had a heck of a year. We received almost a little bit over than that, almost $19 million in grants and awards to Connect Transit to make sure that our system moves forward. And I guess I'll just put a plug in here. I don't believe that a system receives $19 million in federal money unless that system is on the cutting edge of technology, efficient system, and operating at full capacity. So again, kudos to our staff and our drivers and our riders for making us so successful. COVID obviously has had an impact on our system. Our system and our policy board took it really serious. So we have regular bus cleanings. We have buses brought in every 4 hours for a deep clean. Most systems do that every 24 hours. We bring them in every 4 hours to clean it. We are still doing the rear door boarding. Face coverings are required. And we offer free of charge COVID testing from the health department out to McLean County Fairgrounds 2 to 3 times a week, free of charge for people to get that. We have suspended fare collection since March 18th of last year because of the safety, not only the safety of our riders, but the drivers, no interaction with exchange of money or just any risk. We have pushed that forward we will finalize it in our next meeting, but last month we talked about a consensus. We will push that forward until we see fit that there's a wide vaccination within our community. We think it's the right thing to do. It's the safe thing to do. It's the responsible thing to do. While other of our sister systems are collecting fares, we are continuing not to do that. In our fiscal 19 ridership, you can see a lot of people don't believe it. I was shocked when I first got on the board 9 years ago. We gave 2.5 million rides in Connect Transit in a community the size of Bloomington Normal. And you can see in fiscal year 20, because of COVID, our ridership has went down to 1.7 million. Now, 1.7 is still a big number, which just shows how important transit is to moving the economy forward, getting people to work, and people a quality of life situation. The next thing I'll talk is our Better Bus Stop campaign, something that we have been working on since about 2016. By 2024, our system will be 100% ADA compliant at every bus stop. Now, We have work to do with our communities to make sure sidewalks come up to that. But as far as we know, when we accomplish this, we will be the only system in Illinois, and as far as we can tell in the country, that will be 100% ADA compliant. Senator Duckworth, as you can imagine, is ecstatic about this, and so are we. So we're really proud of that. In 2020, we completed 35. In 2021, we completed 86. And in 2022, we completed 100 of those. Takes a lot of money, takes a lot of time to get those done. In 2020, we did the interactive launch of the map, so people can go to our website and see where those bus stops are and where they're on the status of getting done for ADA compliance. And in total, our system has 463 bus stops in Bloomington Normal. As most of you are probably aware, we are in a search for a general manager. And while this is sad to see people go, it's a great thing too. Bigger systems come after the people that were leading our system, which is a great kudos to our system and our to have them go on, and it brings a new opportunity for us. So we have hired the board has hired an executive recruitment firm called Harris Rand Lusk. It's a East Coast firm. The individual that we are working with is actually from the Midwest, lived in Rockford most of his childhood, so is aware of Illinois and all that stuff. We do have a GM search community survey on our website, and in the chat box, one of our staff members is going to put a link to this survey and to other stuff as well. So go on there and share your inputs on that. And the big thing I want to talk about is the downtown transfer station. And I know I want to wrap this up here, but we are fully funded for a downtown transfer station. We are fully funded. We'll take no local dollars, all state and federal money coming back to the taxpayers of Bloomington Normal and the riders of Bloomington Normal. We've retained a project manager. The site analysis is almost done. We've named the 3 sites. I think most of you are aware of the 3 sites. The former Panagraph building. These are just renderings, of course. The second one is the Market Street Garage. And the third is the former C2 East building. And what we're excited about is with that, on Tuesday of this next week, we will be choosing the site that we believe, or the site that we will be going after to try to acquire to do this. And we will hopefully, I am pushing really, really hard. I'm hoping that by the end of 2022, we have a brand new $20 million investment transfer station in downtown Bloomington. So with that, Charlie, I'm happy to take any questions or comments. Hopefully that was quick.
Hey, yeah, no, thanks, Ryan. Appreciate that. And some good stuff there. So just one thing while our listeners are paying attention here, you talked about in the chat box. Unfortunately, they don't have access to that, but if they want to go to our Facebook page, they can post it on the Facebook page and it will live there on the Chamber's Facebook page. And we'll also make sure that we capture that. So if there's additional questions that come in, we can forward those to you at a later time too. But I mean, that's pretty exciting, I think, at the end of 2022. So next week, you said that we'll hear hopefully where the final location is going to be for the downtown investment, if you will, for this project. And so when do you think ground will actually be broken?
Yeah, so yeah, great question. So next week, the board will decide what we think is the best spot. So then it takes some time to acquire the land and then get through the hurdles and the loops, the FTA and Illinois Department of Transportation. So hopefully my hope is that we will actually have that site acquired, the final site acquired into March, middle of April. And then we will it'll probably take, the rest of this summer, in beginning, maybe fourth quarter, to really do the draw ups and the sketchings and I think what they call it, I'm learning here, the A&E, the architectural and engineering. So hopefully sometime at the end of this year or beginning part of next year, we will start digging or building whatever we decide to do here.
Excellent, excellent. Well, another question to bring at you too. So, when we talk to a lot of businesses and we're talking about right now, workforce is an issue, right? And so we're talking about transportation of workforce. And we know that Connect has great relationships with our educational community, and you've got relationships with our business community as well. But right now, more than ever, we're talking like how we get people to and from work and not having transportation as a road barrier, as a roadblock in order to get that job. So tell me, how does a company go about forming a relationship with Connect to look at how transportation can be provided for their employees?
It's a great question. And so let me say this. Obviously, public transit, even in a city like Bloomington Normal, I'm a McLean County native, right? We like to drive everywhere. But even in our community, public transit is important. And you can just look in that in the proof, right? Even during the year of COVID, 1.7 million rides. And we know that most of those individuals are individuals that are going to jobs that are working in the service industry or grocery stores or stuff like that. And so it's a necessity. For businesses to partner with us, we do have universal agreements with the public institutions, of course. We can also do that with private industry. If you want to partner with Connect Transit, that you know, with a badge, with our system, they can scan that, and then we can bill you direct. We know by the data, it's actually cheaper to give a person a ride on the bus than to pay for a parking spot for them. So if they're interested in partnering with us somehow, or they have thoughts on where a route should go, or something like that, feel free to reach out to Connect Transit. Go to the website, look at the phone number, and they can share all information there. Or the Board of Trustees emails are on there as well. They can always email me via that email.
Great, thanks. So another question that we hear often is that, you know, for businesses who are located just outside of city jurisdiction, but they're looking for transport, is there transportation options for Connect, or is that outside of your ability to provide those kinds of services?
Yeah, so it's outside of our ability to do that. And I'll tell you why. Connect Transit, to be able, so this is a question of ridership versus coverage, right? Do we cover everything, or do we go where the density and the ridership is? And if I'm being, you know, we would love to provide more coverage, but we have also got to be financially responsible, right? As a trustee, my responsibility is to the financial stability of the system. And so we've got to choose where a bus goes to pick up one person and whether that's affordable. Now, that comes to a larger picture that I'll raise to the Chamber of Commerce. And we have great relationships with the city of Bloomington and the town of Normal on this, but that goes to city planning. And that goes to, if you're going to build a large business and you're going to hire a workforce that relies on public transit, there should be some planning put into that. And Connect Transit should be brought to the table to say, is a bus route an option to drive to that location? Or should we as a business look at a different piece of property because our employees are not going to be able to get a bus ride to that? So always open to those conversations, but public transit should be a part of the discussion when we're looking at future developments and growth of our community.
Yeah, that's a really good point. Thanks for bringing that up, for sure, for sure. I think that the last question I'll ask, and I've heard you answer this before, so I don't think this will be too hard for you, but it's one that we hear probably pretty regularly, as do you, is people always talk about the size of the buses, the differences of a large bus versus a smaller bus. Can you just explain why the buses are the choices that Connect's made and why you use those?
Yeah, 100%. Very easy answer. We buy our buses based on maximum capacity, just like the state of Illinois builds Veterans Parkway for rush hour. We buy buses for our rush hour and our peak service hours. If you drive down Veterans Parkway or GE Road at 9 o'clock at night, if it was the first time you ever saw that and didn't understand how roads were working, you might say, well, you don't really need 4 lanes of traffic on GE Road, but during rush hour, you need 4 lanes of traffic, right? And just like Connect Transit, during rush hour, and I know we get this all the time, a lot of empty buses. We are no different than any other system. There are peak hours when buses are used. And before COVID, 8 of our 13 routes are pretty full during peak rush hours and all that stuff. And then there's also more detail to that is switching buses in and out. If a bus breaks down and it's a 40-foot bus, and if it breaks down on one of the routes and it needs a 40-foot bus, and all we have is a 30-foot bus, then you don't have the capability to move the same amount of people. So it's a best practice in the public transit world to have a standardized fleet.
Great. Thanks for answering that, Ryan. Really appreciate that. I know that's a question that you hear often, and as do we. So thanks for that. And so thanks for your time this afternoon to answer these questions and talk with us about Connect. Again, so for any of our viewers right now on Facebook, there is a link that the Connect staff has put there to take the survey. So I'd encourage you to please click that link and participate in the survey. And if you want additional information, you can always visit their website at connect-transit.com for more information about the services and what Connect's doing. And pay attention for next Tuesday when we get to hear where the possible location will be in downtown Bloomington as they take a look at moving forward with their transfer station. But because of the generous sponsorship of State Farm and a number of other businesses who represent the ability to have these town hall meetings in our video resource library. We really appreciate all of their support. And so you can continue to go to mcleancochamber.org for this video and additional videos as we go forward. So Ryan, thank you very much. I know, Mark, you've been on the line, but we haven't had a chance to talk too much with you, but thanks for being here. And for those who joined us, thanks for tuning in, and have a good rest of your day.